Okay, welcome everyone. We are so sorry that we couldn't do this video live, but I didn't want us to miss out on what David and I have prepared. I am so excited. I know we had a good research last week, and I'm really excited to have David on with me. So those of you who don't know David, he is our COO, but he is way more than that because he is the expert when it comes to our body. He's been a personal trainer. That was his initial degree. He is coached and trained like serious athletes, collegiate athletes, professional athletes. He owned his own CrossFit gym. He is passionate about how our body works. And everyone knows me that I'm a Canna nerd. David is an equal Canna nerd. Like, we're here together. We love to do research, and I'm really excited. In addition to that, he is just so intelligent with an MBA in business, and I'm just excited for the things that we have today about stress, anxiety, how our body works, how cannabinoids work with that. So David, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to let you take it away from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. I'm so excited to be here today. I can't wait. I know you've been researching this all week and getting ready, so I'm excited to see everything that you've prepared for us. I want to take a minute. We're just going to start from the beginning. I know we've probably got some people that are going to be watching this today who are new to Sukavu. So what I'd like to do is just take a minute and give a background on who we are and really talk about why we do what we do. Just to start here, I'm just going to say this. We're not going to make any claims today. Our products are not designed to treat, cure any illnesses, symptoms, or diseases. Everything that we do is THC free from hemp that we grow locally through proprietary strains. But I just want to get out there. We're going to talk about relevant information today, the industry, help educate you guys, give you a background so you can understand how this could benefit yourselves and how you can help share this with other people, because we feel like there's a lot to share. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Sukavu and what that means for me. So for us at Sukavu, we're all about living a Kavu life. And really what that means is ceiling and visibility unlimited. We want to give people the tools, the opportunity, the relationships necessary to have an amazing experience here while we're on this earth. I mean, it's a limited time for all of us. Let's make the most out of it and make the world a better place for everybody. One of the things that's really important to me in that mission is we talk a lot about sharing relevant experience and knowledge. I'm passionate about health and fitness and wellness. Crystal mentioned my bachelor's degree is in exercise and sports science. I've worked, really, my first coaching job was 1999. So I've been coaching athletes for over 20 years now at all levels, and really just looking for ways to optimize performance, to help athletes recover better. And that's really what led me to cannabinoids. And I want to talk a little bit about why that was such a big thing for me. So let's talk a little bit about our body and the systems that we have. So every mammal on the planet, almost every creature on the planet has an endocannabinoid system. Now, that's a name we gave to a system of receptors that have always been there, but we just named them after the plant that helped us discover it. So these are a series of receptors that were designed to interact with what are called endocannabinoids. These are neurotransmitters in our body that help our body regulate itself and stay balanced so that we can do the things we need to do. All the different systems have to work in conjunction. Our bodies are incredibly complex. So if they can't communicate, things just don't work. They break down. So one of the natural cannabinoids that our body makes is an endocannabinoid called anandamide. There's a few others. I won't bore you with all the details, but what we were able to discover late 70s through the 90s, and really we're still discovering, is that there were certain plants that were high in natural compounds that acted like these endocannabinoids. These are called phytocannabinoids. CBD, a lot of people have heard about CBD. THC is the other one that a lot of people know of. There's 115 identified cannabinoids currently, and we're still just in the infancy of the research to see what all these do. So sources that are high in phytocannabinoids. These are cannabinoids that we get from outside sources. Hemp and the cannabis genus are really high in cannabinoids. So in the United States currently, we can extract cannabinoids from hemp that has less than 0.3% THC by volume. That's legal in the United States. We go a step beyond that. We don't have any THC in our products. The reason for that is right now it is still federally a Schedule I drug. We don't want to take any opportunity to put any of our customers in a bad situation. So we take all that out, but there's benefits here. So as our body takes these cannabinoids, they're used to communicate between the CB1 and CB2 receptors. So these are receptors that are in our bodies. CB1 receptors are primarily located in the brain, especially in the spinal column, the brain stem, really what I like to refer to as our lizard brain. The oldest part of our brain has a lot of these CB1 receptors that these cannabinoids are designed to interact with. The endocannabinoid system has been called the master control switch and the master regulator because its job is to help everything else run smoothly and communicate back and forth between the systems so that we can, when a problem happens, when something goes wrong, our body can have the appropriate response, not an over response, not an under response that can lead to some other issues. Great quote here, and everything we're sharing. So this is an abstract out of an article talking about some of the potential benefits. I'll let you guys read this, but essentially it's talking about how the endocannabinoid system works as a bridge between the mind, the brain, the nervous system, and all the peripheral body systems that are allowing us, muscular system, skeletal system, our integumentary system, our digestive system. All of these things are complex systems, and they need a master communication system. And that's the endocannabinoid system and the receptors that are throughout the body helping everything run smoothly. Let's talk about Sukavu cannabinoids. Why are our cannabinoids different? So we've been in this industry since 2013. We started importing hemp so that we could extract cannabinoids. Shortly after that, we realized that there was some benefits to growing proprietary strains, to crossbreeding different breeds of hemp, strains of hemp, to get different characteristics, different cannabinoid profiles. One of the things that was important to us was to get as low THC in that hemp as we could, because that makes it easier for us to take the rest of it out in the processing and the extraction. We know our products from seed to soul, I like to say. We control it all the way from beginning to end. And that's important because now you can trust that we know what's in our product and we're going to give you a good product. There's no guessing game here. We handle everything. We have only the highest quality standards, safe, clean extraction methods, incredibly high bioavailability. Because of those extraction methods that we use, we provide raw and finished product labs on all of our products. And we're what we like to call real spectrum. We include as many cannabinoids as we can without the THC. And we have lots of different, we have amazing products. We have oils, we have our tinctures, we have topicals, we have an amazing nutrition line that includes a hemp and pea protein. It's got a hemp super green. And then we have our cannabinoid specific strain. So a lot of people have heard about CBD. A lot of people have not heard about CBG. I'm going to skip back here for just a minute. So CBG research is showing has the potential to be one of the most powerful cannabinoids yet. The reason for that is twofold. Number one is that CBG is referred to as the mother cannabinoid. So all the other cannabinoids, THC and CBD specifically, start as CBG. Number two, other than the THC cannabinoid, CBG is the only other cannabinoid that we're aware of right now that binds to the CB1 receptors in the brain. The CBD influence those receptors, helps facilitate information, but the CB1 receptors are actually binding and changing the receptor site, which is a big deal. Now, I want to talk a little bit, we're going to switch gears here just a little bit as we talk about the endocannabinoid system. we want to talk about stress and how our body reacts to stress. And we're going to tie all this together with the research. So one of the most basic instincts, reactions that we've developed is our fight or flight response. As we were evolving over however many million years, 1,000 years, I mean, you know, one of the first things that we developed in our brain, in the brainstem, was the ability to respond to external threats. It's what kept us alive, even before we could think big thoughts. So I want to talk a little bit about how that works and what the function is. And we'll just talk about a fight or flight scenario really quick, and then we'll move on and kind of tie this all together. So we've got a scary German Shepherd dog here. I'm just going to put a disclaimer here. I have 2 beautiful German Shepherds, and I've never seen them look like that. That's a scary dog. But let's talk about a threat. So you're walking down the street, a dog comes out of the backyard, barks at you really aggressively, and that's a scary situation to be in. And a couple things are going to happen. We're going to get a signal from our nervous system coming from that dog to our brain saying threat. As soon as that happens, the hypothalamus is going to signal some endocrine responses. The biggest one in a fight or flight response that we're going to see are adrenaline and cortisol. Now, these are important in this situation because they're going to help us survive. Adrenaline is going to increase our blood pressure, increase our heart rate, get us ready for action. Whether we need to fight or flight, we're ready to do that. Now, cortisol is also going to be released. Now, cortisol does a couple different things. It's going to release it's going to release glucose back into the bloodstream, so it's easily accessible for energy. But it's also, cortisol also has an effect in this acute moment of downgrading some of the non-essential systems. Digestion is usually the first one to kind of go down. Cortisol tends to be immunosuppressive. So really think of it this way: when there's an emergency, your body shuts down everything it doesn't need right at the moment and transfers all of that energy and focus onto the emergency. Okay, so that's acute. And this is normal. It's what helps us survive. And we wouldn't be here a lot of times if we didn't have that response. And let's talk a little bit about how that affects us acutely in a situation like the dog, or in a chronic situation where we have kind of low grade stress all the time. There's nothing super immediate, but just a lot of things piling up. So acute stress, we're typically going to talk about fight or flight. This is the car accident, the barking dog, a bully. Something happens and it's right now, and your body reacts. A lot of times this happens before we can even think about it. It's usually very short and intense. Chronic stress, on the other hand, is usually not going to feel the same way. Low level, but it's chronically elevated stress. So some things that can contribute to this: we have busy modern lives. We have busy schedules. We pack a lot into all the hours that we have. Usually the first thing to go, I know in my case, when I've got a really full plate, I cut out sleep. And that's probably one of the worst things that we can do, because that kind of turns into a feedback loop that will increase the stress and the anxiety and all these issues. So that chronically elevated level of cortisol turns into a really bad thing over a long time, because our body is not designed to be at that high level of alertness. A lot of things start to happen when we are that way. Associated, with high cortisol levels are things like elevated anxiety levels. We see a lot of depression, a lot of digestive issues, a lot of stomach gut sensitivity can be, if not caused, made much worse through chronic stress and elevated cortisol levels. And these are things that, that we have a crazy life, they happen. These things happen to the best of us. It's something that we need to be able to recognize in ourselves and our loved ones, and be able to help find comprehensive solutions to help people feel better, and to manage the stress, because it's just part of how we're wired in the world we live in. I want to take a minute, and I know Crystal's going to tie all this together with research. So I'm going to send it back over to her, and I'm excited to hear what she has to share for us. And we're going to tie this all together and talk about some strategies, including, making sure that our endocannabinoid system is healthy, but some other things that we can do to really manage the stress in our lives as best we possibly can. All right, Crystal, it's all yours.
Awesome. David will have to be my clicker. We are sharing his screen right now, and you just flip through. So just to kind of set up the research, and if you haven't joined us for kind of a in-depth research, our goal here is not to say it's doing like this is conclusive research, is to just show you that there's research being done, that you can actually find it yourself, that we can take our health and wellness in our own hands and find the information that we need. And it's not just someone's opinion. Literally, we have the ability to go. And I'm just going to show you real quick how I've set up the screen, because I want everybody to be able to go. I'm going to highlight things. I'm going to talk about them, but you can actually go to this same study. So in most situations, I'm going to give you a PMID number, which is just the direct link. You can just Google research, copy that number and put it on. This one's a little bit longer link. It wasn't on on the site that I normally go to, which I just go to the National Institute of Health, NIH.gov. I get to their research section and I start typing in topics. So if I wanted to know heart disease and its relationship to exercise, I type in heart disease, exercise, and the studies would come up. So I typically go in and I'm going to type in cannabinoids, because like what David discussed is we're not a CBD company. We're looking at the whole plant. Cannabinoids all interact differently. And I'll even show a little bit of research at the end that shows kind of the opposite thing, some of the downsides when we're looking at individual cannabinoids. One cannabinoid might do something that's opposes another cannabinoid. So we really are a research-based company. We put out products based on what we're seeing. So let's get into it. Again, I'm going to kind of read through and explain them so that you guys can understand. But I want you to understand that we're going to see a lot of different things. So this first study talks about CBD specifically and how it increases adult hippocampal neurogenesis, which is just basically our body's ability to regenerate neurons and make them functional and active and communicative, because things are dying in our body all the time. And it exerts an anxiolytic effect, which is basically just saying that the response to anxiety, we're going to calm that. We're going to slow that down so that we have the ability to process. So David did a great job of showing how our body responds immediately, but sometimes we perceive threat when it's not needed. And in this specific model, the CUS model, it's just saying that they gave some situations to the mice, like lots of light and noises, or they gave them a maze that was confusing and they weren't, so just these things that kind of set it up where it was going, what's going on, and created anxiety. And then they treated the patient, the mice, with cannabinoids, and in this particular one with CBD. And it had an effect. It actually worked. It lowered anxiety in the people. My cat has joined us today, so he wants to be a part of the research as well. So David, go ahead to the next screen. Okay, this particular study, so again, PubMed, PMID number 208-37564. Again, just Google, type in that number, it'll bring up the whole study, but I'm gonna highlight some specific things. Again, this one is designed with the overexpression of the CB2 receptor. So the CB2 receptor is what CBD and most of the other cannabinoids respond to. The cannabinoid that David was talking about, CBG and THC, respond to the CB1 receptor in a primary form. All the receptors kind of work in conjunction with each other, but CB2 receptors really seem to be the one that lower our body's anxiety and stress, whereas the THC, CB1, CBG receptor in our brain sometimes does the opposite. So this particular one, I want to highlight the bottom. So the findings here revealed that increased expression of the CB2 receptor, CB2R, significantly reduced anxiogenic related behaviors. It modified the response to stress and impaired the action of anxiolytic drugs. And so some of the things that are happening with drugs that are pharmaceutically made that we're taking is it actually increases, that's the word I'm looking for, increases anxiety and stress. It causes some of these other markers that were not normally, it intensifies anxiety. It can stop it in the beginning, and then all of a sudden we have this increased anxiety in long term. So let's go to the next screen. Okay, so here's what the side effects, if you just Google side effects of anxiolytic drugs, which these would be like alprazolam, Xanax is a very common one that people use. And this is what the side effects are, which are some of the things we don't want to have happen when we're trying to lower our anxiety. We don't want drowsiness. We don't want sedation where we can't function. We don't want to trade that, the over excitement and our body freaking out to like, now I can't function because I'm sleepy, I'm sedated, I have confusion. These drugs are very high dependency drugs and have very high withdrawal symptoms. So it's very difficult for people to get off of them. Often they have to increase the dosage because our body becomes accustomed to it. And so we need more and more, which is actually the opposite of what cannabinoids do. Because like what David was explaining is that this is a master control switch. And as we boost our cannabinoids, our endocannabinoids with some phytocannabinoids, our body actually says, good, we're full, we're functioning at the level that we need, and often we can go back and use less and less and less cannabinoids. So maybe not great for Sukavu that we can get people using less and less, and that's what we've seen over the course of this last year in business is people started out with dropperfuls, came here using other products, using dropperfuls of product, and a lot of our clients right now are using 5 to 10 drops a day. So really that's what's so amazing about this is we don't become dependent. Our body actually starts to work and resolve the issues itself. So the last 4, we have upset stomach was reported, nausea, diarrhea, sexual dysfunction. I mean, we don't want those things. We want the rest of our body to work too, just we don't want to have anxiety. All right, David, let's go to the next one. So I want to show a couple of studies because all of these things kind of come together. Social phobias, PTSD also go with anxiety and some of the things that we're talking about. So what causes PTSD? I just brought this up really fast. There's 4 top reasons for men and women. So a lot of people think it's combat related, some severe thing, but it's not. If you look in men, rape, combat exposure, childhood neglect, childhood physical abuse are all things that could lead to post-traumatic stress. Again, on the women's side, rape, sexual molestation, physical attack, or being threatened by a weapon, which I was very surprised that those were the top 4 reasons. But understand that we can experience post-traumatic stress from a car accident. All of a sudden, every single time you're in your car and you're braking, you're like freaking out as someone running into the back of you. So our body, again, is designed to alert us that there could be a possible thing and then to remember, hey, this was a possible issue. So if you touched a hot stove when you're a kid, then you go to a hot stove and you're like, oh, that's hot. Your body responds, already sends out signals. So it's a really great thing, but when it's happening all the time and it's not letting you function, and we have some amazing veterans that we work with who talked about literally they couldn't go to the grocery store because if someone slammed a car door hard, they were back full on military in the, like wanting to hide under their car and find a weapon. So we don't want our body to respond that way, and cannabinoids are going to help our body communicate what is the proper response. And our endocannabinoid system does that. All right, David, let's look at the research here. So this one, again, PMID 213-07846. I know some of you, we make an audio recording. We do upload these because these can be a little bit longer, and people have expressed that they want to be able to listen to it. And so again, we're going to be able to do that. So if we look at this, this is totally, this study is revolving around anxiety induced by public speaking. And this is the #1 cause of anxiety in people, that they have to get in front of people and speak. And so in this particular one, I'm going to show a couple of different graphs because I think graphs are good to look at. So David, if you go to the next screen, this particular graph kind of shows you what, as the green line on the bottom shows what normal people's response was to public speaking, who just were like, oh, we just say these words, it's not a big deal to them. And then they actually treated people who had anxiety with 2 different things. One was a placebo, so it was nothing. and then they were supposed to respond to the type of stress that they have. And the other one was CBD. So the red line is the one where you see they administered it, they put them in front of the group, and it dropped initially, and then all of a sudden, as they started speaking, it spiked up. And then their body kind of got a little bit used to it, and they're like, it starts to lower, right? As you start speaking or doing something uncomfortable, over time, you're gonna be like, okay, I just have to do it, let's just get this done. Well, if you look at the CBD, it actually did better than just a normal person in just causing a calm feeling, reducing anxiety, than just a normal person responded when they were public speaking. So it was obviously very effective in this situation. The second graph shows a couple of things. So this graph shows the different things as far as, now they rated it and said, what is your anxiety? What is your cognitive impairment? What's your sedation level? And what is your discomfort level? And you can see, again, similar things happen. The green line shows what normal people who just were responding to the being thrown in front of a group and having to public speak, just had this like, yeah, it's uncomfortable in the beginning, and then it dies down, right? But most of the time it's pretty flat. Then if you look at the blue line, that is the people who responded based on using the CBD, and the other red line is the placebo. In every situation, CBD actually helped the person feel better about their ability to public speak, calm them down. They definitely had and no one knew whether they had the placebo or they had the CBD. So they were all getting up and then responding to that. So I think social anxiety is one of the biggest things people have. And we already see from this study that this could be a potential use long-term. And that's what science is trying to decide. Is this safe? Is this something that could potentially, what direction should we go in using these natural plants? A lot of drugs that pharmacies actually chemically make came from natural plants. They're like, hey, this worked, and we can make some money off of it. So let's do it in a chemical form. And there's not part of the problem with natural products is there's not a good oversight or good regulation. We're seeing that with CBD. We have cannabinoid poisonings over 2,000 last year, because if people aren't doing the things that David talked about, making sure that they're taking out all of the toxins that when we grow from the soil that the hemp pulls out. So we want to make sure that we're doing things that are safe. So always make sure if you're using a cannabinoid product that you are looking at a COA. If that company does not have a COA or a certificate of analysis about their product and what is in it, do not purchase it. People kind of got into this industry because it could be a quick buck, and Forbes said it was going to make a lot of money for people, and they just jumped on the bandwagon. So make sure you're choosing safe products so that you know that you're not getting any toxins that could potentially harm you. And then hopefully over time, we're going to get a little more regulation. It's going to become mandatory. We're going to have some oversight that we don't currently have. But right now, it's a buyer beware. Use your discretion. Be smart about this. If you have any questions, reach out to one of the people who are our representatives. Reach out to us as a company. Even if you don't choose us, we can at least educate you on how to look at a good COA and what you're looking for. Okay, let's look at this next study. So this is a completely different one, PMID 187-06790. So this present study investigates the central effects of the ECB, so the endocannabinoid system, that's what that stands for, uptake metabolism inhibitor, and it's a particular one. So this has anxiety. When we exhibit anxiety, then this little inhibitor comes up, chemical in our body comes up, which is basically fear. It's what we would recognize as fear. When we have this, it's like, I'm scared, I want to run away. And the phytocannabinoid, or CBD in this particular one, on the extinction of this typical metabolism inhibitor. So this is what we noticed all of the people were experiencing when they had fear. And so we're going to see if CBD actually does something to inhibit this or to reduce the uptake of this particular inhibitor. So in conclusion on this, so the abstract, so this is an abstract, which basically is just a summary of the study. And when you're starting out, I highly recommend stick to the conclusion or the abstract, because when you get into the full body or have a very good medical dictionary next to you or Google or something, you will be going back and forth and being like, what does that mean? But this will at least give you an overview of like, did it work? Was it successful? Was it the same? Did it respond the same as traditional medications? It will help you understand, yeah, if it, in this particular one, the anxiety drug they used was diazepam. And it said in conclusion, the non-psychoactive, so that means THC-free phytocannabinoid, could be an interesting pharmacological approach to reduce the anxiogenic effects or anxiety effects of stress and promote the extinction of fear memories. So that's kind of what happens when we have a post-traumatic stress situation, is that our body keeps helping us remember these at times when it's not something we should be fearful of. We don't need to worry about being in a war zone and having that feeling when we're at the grocery store. But our body takes in all of the noises and sounds, and it says, this could be the same thing I was experiencing there, and it starts to basically create that same situation. And this can happen in a lot of things. Again, like I said, just a car accident or physical or sexual abuse. Those things can come up at times that aren't appropriate. So we use, pharmacologically, we could use drugs prescribed by a doctor, but we're trying to see in this study, could CBD do the same thing? And it's definitely saying this could be an interesting approach because it did reduce those same effects. Okay, the next one. And I know, again, about this time, I'm always like, stick with me. We only have a few more. Those of you who are nerds are like, keep going. We love it. But I do want to touch on something that we're very passionate about at Sukavu, and that is our veterans. We have seen so many people who have reached out to us because cannabinoids have helped them live the life that they should be living, even though they served our country and witnessed horrors I never want to witness myself. And I'm so grateful for these just soldiers who are amazing. And we have a program that we don't want them to have to worry about the financial aspect of getting cannabinoids. They can go on our site, Sukavu Serves, they can fill out an application. You will need to send in your DD-214 or just proof that you're a veteran, that you're out of the military now. And if you're currently in the military, we can still help you as well. We'll use a military ID. But you can get up to 75% all of our products. We want to make sure you can do this. We also currently have an influx. We're so grateful. We have an influx of hand sanitizer. We have been just donating hand sanitizer. We sent 4 gallons to New York City to some of just in the front lines in Brooklyn, a local hospital there who was out of hand sanitizer. If you're a medical personnel or a first responder and you do not have hand sanitizer right now, if you feel free to send me, Crystal at Sukavu, send me an email. We'd like to find a way we can help you. We're going to be working with a company this next week called My Medic, and they actually have kits that they're sending out to first responders. A lot of times we have product at the hospital, but the paramedics, the police officers, they don't have enough masks and gloves and hand sanitizer. So we're going to be working with My Medic this week to be able to have people purchase a kit for themselves that they can give, and then they're going to donate 1 kit for every kit that's purchased. Sukavu is providing the hand sanitizer in this kit, and we're so grateful for that. So watch our site next week for some information about how you can get online and get started and help the first responders. So we're excited about that. I'm really excited about that because I think everyone's saying we want to help, and no one knows what to do. So we sit at home and we're just saying, can we help? So David, what are you seeing out there? What are you feeling about what's going on and how we can help?
You know, I think the hand sanitizer is awesome. I love that we shipped it out to New York to those hospitals, and the more that we can do that, the better. You know, I think the biggest thing we can do, I know there's a lot of uncertainty in the world today and a lot of things we can't control. For me, I maintain my sanity, my peace of mind by focusing on the things I can control, right? Yes. And just try not to worry about the other things and have faith that I'm doing the things that are going to make the biggest difference for everybody around me, but just control what I can control. And I think if we do that, I know if we do that, we're going to come through this just fine.
Yeah. And you know, it's been amazing because I watch Facebook and I've seen so many people that we're kind of shifting our perspective here, that people are saying, you know what, I want to stop doing some of these things. I want to do some of these things. People who haven't hiked in years have hiked, people who haven't played games, board games with their family, or playing board games. People are reaching out to neighbors. We're serving each other. There is some good coming from this. And it is a little bit of a wake-up call and a great mind check. Like, would I survive in this situation mentally? So I'm really grateful for that too. And we really want to help out. If you're looking to purchase hand sanitizer, if you go to sukavu.net, you can buy some retail hand sanitizer if you don't have some in your local area. Okay, let's go to the next one. A couple more, like I said, and then we're going to be done. So this particular one is addressing how endocannabinoid system responds to the current antidepressants, and how it feels we can actually utilize cannabinoids to do this. So I'm going to read the whole abstract here. The endocannabinoid system is a neuromodulatory system, which is known to regulate emotional, cognitive, neurovegetative, and motivational processes. So if you're looking for a little motivation, this might be a way to kick your body into gear. Substantial evidence has accumulated implicating a deficit in the endocannabinoid system. And here's what I want to tell you. This is now a diagnosis. So we have finally had people saying, I'm diagnosing you with an endocannabinoid deficiency. And the best way to get cannabinoids is through phytocannabinoids, through plant cannabinoids. The same way that we go, oh, I have a mineral deficiency, I'm lacking vitamin D, vitamin C. We look to plants to provide that, or the sun, or nature, right? So I think we have the least amount of side effects when we're doing this process. So implicating a deficit in the endocannabinoid and the etiology of depression, according to the pharmacological augmentation of endocannabinoid signaling. So like David talked about, that two-way thing of like, hey, this is what's going on in the body, and then the cannabinoid system, okay, how do we balance that out? So we have a fight or flight response. Is this necessary? No, it's not. And so the endocannabinoid then system says, okay, well, we don't need to have too much of that, slow that down. We could use a little more of this. It's just that master control switch. And then in the end, it says these preclinical findings support the rationale for the clinical development of agents which inhibit the cellular uptake and or metabolism of endocannabinoids in the treatment of mood disorders. So basically, if we can figure out a way for our body to be able to do it more, or if we can now supplement that, then this is going to help us to be able to regulate the mood. This is what this study has found. And that specifically targeting depression and anxiety in this one. Okay. Okay, PMID 208-37564. So I always like to highlight a couple of things that show some of the research that's saying, let's be cautious, because I think we always have to be cautious. We need to listen to our body. We need to listen to our physicians. We need to actually look at the research instead of just dive in and say, let's do whatever we want to do. And that our approach to cannabinoids is always a slow and low and listen. So we want you to start at a rate that you can, it's not going to be something that's going to give your body a drastic response. So 1 drop in the morning, 1 at night. I didn't see anything. 2 drops in the morning, 2 at night, 3 in the morning, 3 at night, 4 in the morning, 5, until you're like, oh my gosh, I had the best sleep of my life. Oh my goodness, I didn't wake up and have these same triggers or responses that I had. And that's when we get stuff back from the community, is people are like, it worked. If you go too fast, too hard, too much, your body could have a response. And so I want you to know that we always want you to be cautious. We always want you to include your physicians. They want to know. I can't tell you how many physicians that I talk to that are like, what we don't love is that you start taking this and it's working, and now you still have these other drugs and you're trying to titrate off, and you're trying to figure this out yourself. Work with them, help them, tell them what you would like to accomplish. I'd like to get off of these medications. I'd like to use cannabinoids to do it. Here's the COA, we provide that. Take that into them. They're worried because they know people who have gotten sick. Those 2,000 poisonings went to the ER because of that. How many people didn't go? So make sure that you know that there are some things that could be concerning, and that we need to just know that there's two other systems, the CB1 and the CB2. So one of the reason why we get conflicting evidence is the way that the CB1 and the CB2 receptors work. And sometimes they're actually antagonists of each other, or one calms down the other. There are times and situations where we don't want the CB1 receptor, which is typically triggered by THC. However, CBG can do some of the same things without the, what would be the word? Not hallucinogenic,
Euphoria.
but euphoric, thank you,
Yeah.
euphoric properties. And then there's some things that CB2 receptors don't do, which is provide that euphoria that might be necessary for severe pain. So both of these work together, but sometimes when we're seeing conflicting research, really look at, is this a CB1 or a CB2 receptor, and how it interacts with those? Because I usually tell people, what CB1 giveth, CB2 taketh away. So they're a great balancing act, but also there are times that it's not necessary. And that's one of the reasons that we feel in most of the situations, our body endocannabinoid system still modulates everything with CB2 receptors, which is everything beyond THC. And one of the reasons we take it out is because it's still illegal. We don't want anyone to fail a drug test. We don't want anyone's job to be compromised, or anyone to be compromised in any way without the help of a physician right now. And that's what legally most states are allowing. So in this particular one, on the second paragraph, it says, on the first paragraph, it talks about anxiety and some of the misuse of cannabinoid products. However, I will say, there's a misuse of pharmacological products as well. People abuse Xanax and those type of medicines too. So I think with anxiety, and when it becomes feeling like it's out of our control, we have a tendency to misuse things and not take into fact that we have some other control factors like David was talking about, is let's get out, let's exercise, let's do some other things that are gonna help our body naturally respond positively to anxiety. In this, so the second paragraph, clinical evidence strongly suggests that acute administration of low doses of CB1 receptor antagonists result in anxiolytic effects. So in this particular study, the THC component actually increased anxiety. And so it does the opposite of what they were trying to do. And again, like I said, CB1, what CB1 giveth, sometimes CB2 can take it away. And CB2, when we're taking a whole plant extract, it does help to balance that. So if you go on NIH and you're looking up research and you're being like, wait a second, they keep saying that this is increasing the effects, the anxiety, things that are happening in my body, make sure you know what receptors are being used and make sure you understand how that works. In this last part, that CBD did not appear to elicit a significant opposition to the effect of dronabinol, which is not a pharmacy, not available in the US, it's available in Europe, but it's basically like Marinol in the United States, so a high THC product, plausibly indicating that a higher concentration of this ingredient, so THC, may be necessary to elicit anxiolytic effects. So they're just trying to figure out how this plant works and what we need to do if this is causing more anxiety. We don't want to have it. So that's what I love about science, is they're saying, let's get in, let's dig in, let's give a lot of scenarios, especially in the beginning, to mice. Let's put them under some stress and let's see how they respond with CBD. Let's see how they respond with THC. Let's give them a pharmaceutical product and see how it responds. And we're just grateful that they're doing that, because it's helping expose some of the great things that cannabinoids have. And then as a company, we're saying, goodness, if I read a study and it says, hey, CBDA helps with cancer cells, and so on contact, this acid form is doing it, we're saying, hey, how do we put CBDA into our skincare? So that's how we're using science to help us. Okay, David, I think you have one more science screen and then we can move on. So again, I'm just going to read this bottom one. While studies on the biological determinants of different responses to cannabis are still at their preliminary stages, 30,000 plus research studies, $300+ million being spent, but there's more and more going on. And they're trying to help us figure out what a good personalized approach for the employment of cannabinoid-based therapies in anxiety and mood disorders. So keep researching, keep watching these research so you can know, and you can read these and you can use it based on the research that we're seeing. Okay, so in kind of our conclusion, I want to make sure that we highlight, if you are experiencing anxiety, stress, PTSD, all of these other things, I looked up the ADAA, some of the things that they recommend, some of the things that David even talked about, but take a time out, practice yoga, listen to music, listen to your body, and if it's saying slow down, slow down. You know, it might be just a good signal to say, take a break. Let's clear your head, step back from the problem. Eat well-balanced meals. I know David is a huge proponent of what you put in your body is gonna balance those things too. Your endocannabinoid system cannot function if you're just giving it sugar and a whole bunch of nutrient deficient food and energy. It needs help. So get a good diet. David, do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I was just going to second that. And I would say that probably the most important thing that we can do is just make sure we're getting enough sleep on a daily basis. And it's not, I mean, it's just a consistent thing. And I know life's busy. Here's what I recommend to people. Our bodies need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. When we get less than that, we perform less than optimally. Okay. Now, what I would say is no matter where you're at, if you're not getting that 7 to 8 and you're feeling some of these issues, that is the first place that you can invest some time that will make the biggest difference, is getting more sleep. Sleep allows our body to reset all the hormones. They all reset to homeostasis. They all balance while we sleep. And it's so important that we have that solid foundation. So add what you can. If you can only add 15 minutes more sleep and a night, start there and see how you feel. And then if you can add 15 more minutes, and see what you can do, it will pay dividends in the way you feel, especially when you combine with all these other things. Alcohol and caffeine especially are things that when we're dealing with stress, they just make problems worse. Exercise daily doesn't have to be, I owned a CrossFit gym. CrossFit's crazy. It's intense. You don't have to do that, go for a walk. I've been walking a lot. I set a goal to walk 1 million steps by the end of June. And that may be a lot for some people. It may be nothing for other people. For me, that's a pretty big goal just for the time it takes to get out and do that. But, the little things that we can do consistently over time are going to make the biggest difference. And again, I would second this. If you are struggling, especially during this time with just everything being turned on its head, routines thrown out the window, trying to work from home and homeschool kids is a challenge. I've got 4 kids at home and it's chaos here most of the time. So I would say if you are struggling, don't struggle alone. Reach out, get some support and some help. There are people out there who've been through what you're going through, who want to help, and it really is, we're all in this together. So that's what I would say. Do the best you can on your own, control what you control, and let's help each other, man. Let's support each other.
Yeah. It's been amazing to me how many people are reaching out. I read one little meme that kind of said, like, now the world has caught up to how I feel all the time. And I think it is I think people are feeling compassionate, like, oh, that's what you were talking about. So, and I love that. David really talked about a lot of those. Exercise, take deep breaths, count slowly, do your best, and accept that you cannot control everything. And that's really the way that we think about something triggers that stress response, even if it's not truly a stress. Try to maintain a positive outreach and reach out to someone. And there are plenty of free resources. If you are contemplating harming yourself or others, please seek out help. Lots of hotlines, talk to a physician, a therapist, seek professional help. I want to make sure that this is not, we're not saying that drugs or cannabinoids are the be all end all, and this is a serious thing that people are experiencing. So please reach out. In a kind of a closing note, I want to share with you a couple of ways you can reach out to some support that we have within our cannabinoid group. We have a Facebook group called the Cannabinoid Experience, and people talk and share about the things that they were experiencing prior to using cannabinoids and what they're experiencing today. And I just want to read a couple of these and show you kind of how to find it. So if you type the Cannabinoid Experience, it's a private group, and just ask to be a part of it, and we'll accept you. And you just have to agree to a couple of things. David, would you scroll down to, so the proof is in what it does for you and what it does for our customers. So join us on this Cannabinoid Experience, and let me read a couple of different people who have responded to stress and anxiety. David, go to the next one. So this is our anxiety portion of the cannabinoid group. We have them by topics. You can search for, if you are experiencing something, you can type in that particular diagnosis, and then you can see if we have it in the group. But I want to read a couple of these right here on the first page. They said, I started using CBD oil for my anxiety about 8 months ago, and I noticed a change immediately. It truly has been a godsend. And then a few down from that, I have used it on and off for about 8 months now. A few weeks ago, I felt myself getting super anxious and decided to check my blood pressure. 150/104. Yep, stroke level. Decided right then that I needed to try my oil again. I've been feeling less anxious and stressed lately, and my numbers haven't been that high. On the second page, somebody commented, anxiety is a thing of my past because of CBD. I've been using CBD for about a year now. No more anxiety attacks, no more sleepless nights, no more struggling to focus or accomplish anything due to the anxiety. I've been using Sukavu's cannabinoid oil recently, and I'm able to use half the dose of the brand I was using before. I'm taking 3 milligrams a day. It makes it so affordable. And what I wanted to point out is that not just that, but people are responding and communicating with each other. And like you'll see, I love your testimonial. I haven't even heard your story before. You're so amazing. I just think it's a way that we can connect, and that you also can reach out to people who've been through what you're going through, and that really does help. So we have a couple more. David, go to the next one. So we have another, besides anxiety, we have a one that's on PTSD. And one of the people responded, and I love this one. I have PTSD, bipolar depression, and anxiety. My PTSD is intertwined with about 7 different PTSD experiences. I've had every type of abuse, sexual, physical, verbal, mental, and social. Many of these were all happening simultaneously, and then later as well as early in life betrayal trauma. I've had the trauma of being ejected from a truck while rolling 7 times just to have the truck land on me. I've gone to psychologists, neuropsychologists, and many counselors who have literally told me they've never had a patient with as deep of trauma. I have, and we have tried every medication, but I also have cystic fibrosis, and for some reason, almost every antidepressant or mood stabilizer made me worse off than when I tried it. Then Sukavu came into my life, unexpected and with miraculous timing. I started with some samples from a friend, then bought the core, and I've never been so level-headed. I catch myself most of the time now from impulsive behavior. It hasn't cured me by any means. I still struggle, but I've never had this much relief before of Sukavu and the core and CBG. Here's the thing. I love that people are sharing, because it just helps us know what we're doing, right, David, is we're on the right track. We're helping people, and then our community helps people because they're talking to each other, they're reaching out, they're experiencing the struggle, then they're sharing it with other people. So please, if you need a listening ear, this group is so great to just say, we're here for you, we love you.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so we are a social marketing company. There's an opportunity here for both health and wealth. So if you would like, I think I have the 2 things that are popping up. David, one more screen for me. So our next event on this same, hopefully it will live feed to our Sukavu opportunity Monday on the Sukavu page at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then every Saturday at 9 a.m. we do some kind of cannabinoid training, whether it's research or just another, anything that we're experiencing or learning about in the company. One of our Sukavu founders and owners and top level leadership will be doing these type of trainings. So we thank you. For those of you who are invited here, please reach out to the person who introduced you to Sukavu. See if they can help you. We have a 60-day empty bottle money back guarantee. We are so confident our product will help you, and we want you to be committed to doing that slow and low dosing. So again, I want to thank David for jumping on with me today. I love hearing his side of things, and he's just got so much great information. I could probably just stand here all day and talk with you about it, but thank you so much for joining us, and we really, really appreciate it on your busy Saturday morning. And now you got to get out and get your steps for today, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks,
Anything
guys.
else?
It's great to be here. Nope,
Okay.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks so much. Have a great Saturday.